Elena Grant sat in the corner booth of the upscale restaurant, watching the low light glimmer off the polished glasses of wine in front of her. Her heart thudded beneath her ribs, but it wasn't from the anxiety of the evening. It was because of the overwhelming, unexpected moment she had walked into. Her husband, Adrian Grant, the CEO of Valiant Labs, was sitting across from her. But it wasn't his eyes she noticed first. No, it was the model. She was beautiful, unmistakably alluring. With her long legs and designer clothes, she was the epitome of everything Elena wasn't. Or at least, that's what she felt in that instant. Adrian, too busy staring at the woman across from him, hadn't noticed her at first. The woman's glossy lips parted as she laughed at something Adrian had said, a laugh that Elena had once known well. But tonight it sounded hollow. Elena watched as the model leaned in, just a bit too close for comfort. It wasn't the touch on the wrist that bothered Elena, nor the flirtatious glint in the model's eyes. No, it was the way Adrian had looked at her, without hesitation, without surprise, as if this was normal, but it wasn't. Elena wasn't angry, not yet. Instead, she felt a quiet storm brewing within her. Her baby kicked, almost as if to remind her of everything at stake. She clutched the ultrasound photo in her hand and stood up quietly, turning away from the scene that no longer felt like her life. As she walked out into the frigid Seattle night, the chill in the air felt like a cleansing breath, as though something inside of her had snapped free. She wasn't going to fight for a man who had already stopped fighting for her. Everything's temporary, Adrian had said just days before, after their last argument about their baby's birth plan. But Elena had realized that some things weren't temporary. Some things, like the growing distance between them, were permanent. She folded the ultrasound photo carefully in her palm and walked away. The house felt strangely empty when Elena returned. There was no sign of Adrian, no dinner waiting on the table, no calls or texts asking if she had arrived safely. The silence wrapped around her like a shroud, a chilling reminder that the life she had fought to build was slipping through her fingers. For the past few months, their life together had been a series of carefully timed routines, work, dinner parties, and an occasional stolen kiss when Adrian wasn't buried in his emails or travel plans. But that was before the dinner, where Elena had realized that something had shifted, something that was irreversible. Elena wandered through their home, the same home that had once been filled with laughter and dreams for the future. Their baby's nursery, still empty except for a rocking chair and a crib, felt like a promise unkept. The framed photos of their wedding day, their honeymoon in Paris, the home they had built together, all of it felt like a lie. She walked into their bedroom, where her suitcase sat on the bed, half-packed. For a moment, she stood there, frozen, wondering if she was doing the right thing. Then, as if on cue, her phone buzzed. Adrian had texted her, asking if she was still awake. "I'll be back soon," it read, followed by an emoji of a tired face. But Elena knew better. He wasn't coming back anytime soon. The company he had once built from the ground up had become his mistress, and she, the woman who had stood by him through every late-night meeting and early morning call, had become an afterthought. She grabbed a pen and a piece of paper from the nightstand, her hand trembling slightly as she wrote a simple note. Just one line: "I'm leaving." It had been 2 weeks since Elena had left, and the silence had only grown louder. Adrian had tried to call her multiple times, left messages, and even sent flowers to the apartment she was now renting. But Elena didn't want his apologies or his gifts. She wanted something real, something that couldn't be bought. The letter she left behind was short, but it was enough. It wasn't a cry for attention. It wasn't an emotional plea. It was a final, quiet goodbye. In it, Elena didn't just leave Adrian. She left behind the life that no longer served her. She left the woman who had once been a dutiful wife, putting her own needs aside for the sake of her husband's career. She was letting go of the idea of perfection that had kept her tethered to a man who had stopped caring. In the letter, she wrote, "I don't know who we are anymore, Adrian. I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. I need to take care of myself now, and that means walking away. Maybe one day we'll understand why we got to this point. Until then, I'll be finding my own way." She left it on the kitchen counter for him to find, knowing he would come home eventually. She didn't need him to understand. She needed him to feel the weight of his choices. Months had passed, and Elena had slowly started to rebuild her life. She had learned to breathe again, to live again, without the constant pressure of Adrian's world hovering over her. She found work at a local nonprofit, where her heart could heal by helping others. Her pregnancy, which had once felt like an anchor, now felt like a blessing, a fresh start. The more Elena focused on herself, the more she realized how much she had sacrificed. Her dreams had been placed on hold for a man who never truly saw her. But now, for the first time in years, she was free. She was learning to trust her own instincts, to create her own path. She made friends who didn't see her as Adrian's wife, but as Elena, someone worthy of love, attention, and respect. In the quiet moments when she would feel lonely, she would rest her hand on her growing belly and remind herself that this was enough. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. It was on a rainy afternoon when Elena found herself face to face with Adrian once again. He had reached out through mutual acquaintances, desperate to explain, to apologize. But Elena wasn't interested in his excuses. She had long since come to terms with her decision, but she couldn't deny the rush of emotions that seeing him stirred up. He looked different, tired, regretful. The confident CEO she had known was now a man stripped of his armor, vulnerable and uncertain. It was almost too much for her to bear. "Elena," he began, his voice soft, almost pleading. "I'm sorry. I never meant for things to end this way. I lost myself." She looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time she didn't feel angry. She didn't feel sadness either. She simply felt pity. "You didn't lose yourself, Adrian," she said quietly. "You just stopped caring about me." It was the truth. The painful, undeniable truth. But there was no room for more anger in Elena's heart. She had found peace, and that was enough. Elena gave birth to a healthy baby boy, and in the weeks that followed, she discovered a strength within herself she never knew she had. She had weathered the storm of betrayal and emerged stronger on the other side. She was a mother, a woman who had reclaimed her own worth, and above all, she was finally free. Her life was not perfect, and it was never going to be the life she had imagined with Adrian. But in its own way, it was more beautiful. Every day was a gift, a reminder that no matter how hard life gets, there is always the possibility of renewal, of starting over. As she watched her son sleep peacefully in her arms, Elena realized that the future was hers to create, and this time she would do it on her own terms.